Hello everyone, it's National Park Wild, I'm Eric, and today I am finishing my ranking of every national park I've been to. I've been to 48 parks, pretty much all of them are great, and these 12 are the best of the best. Any of them could have been number one easily. So don't be mad if you have a favorite park that doesn't make the top 12, it probably is still really great. All photos and videos are videos that I have taken that on my journeys, and this is pretty much all I have to say before I begin. So number 12 is Channel Islands National Park. Easily one of the most underrated in my opinion because of the wildlife particularly. Dolphins, porpoises, whales, sea lions, I saw all of these. I also saw cool rock formations, beaches. My favorite animal there is the Channel Islands fox by far. He's very cute. There was a lot of different sort of geology and geography going on because the islands are similar to the Galapagos as volcanic islands. They formed in unique ways. Most of the scenery is decent, nothing outstanding, but then there are really cool scenes like the one at Cavern Point, which I think is really beautiful. Overall, I definitely think that this park deserves more respect. You can only get there by boat, but it is worth the boat trip. Anyway, let's move on. First, I got a few more photos. This one is this cute night lizard, and then the next two are going to be more Channel Island foxes. Another thing of note, the fact that the Channel Islands don't have a lot of facilities, so you have to bring a lot of your own stuff. Number 11, Crater Lake National Park. The lake is beautiful. It is the main thing there. That's all I can say. It's the lake. There are lots of overlooks, Sun Notch, Watchman, but that lake is stunning. The videos may look cool, but trust me, it is nothing compared to what it's like in person, because the lake is massive. The purest blue. There's also plenty of mountain scenery around. There's some waterfalls even, like this one here. There's a lot of interesting plant and animal life. I saw some marmots and deer. There are plenty of different ways to see the lake. I did not get to do a boat tour due to COVID-19, but this is definitely a national park worth visiting. It doesn't get a whole lot of people, but I personally think that it is definitely worthy of national park status. Number 10 is Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota. No one goes here. This is the most underrated pretty much. Most people kind of hate it, but there's so much wildlife here. I saw deer, bison, wild horses, elk, cow, yes, wild cows, and tons of other wildlife. Prairie dogs are quite cute here. The Badlands are older than the South Dakota ones, and I think more intricately shaped and colorful. I think the hikes are good, some short, some long, all enjoyable, and I definitely enjoy coming here and camping, because Cottonwood Campground in the South Unit is one of the best campgrounds, actually my personal favorite, in all the parks. Number 9 is Grand Teton. Honestly, I didn't want to put this one as high as I did because it's mostly just the mountains and some lakes, but those mountains are just so beautiful it had to get a spot. The wildlife also is particularly good here. This moose is one of my favorite sightings there, but I saw many bald eagles, beavers, deer, elk, bison, no bears, but lots of mammals. The mountains are really the star of the park. There are plenty of great overlooks. There was a grizzly bear area, sort of, where the bears constantly go, that a lot of people were crowded around when I went. I definitely suggest looking there. The park also does have some very good hikes. Hikes such as Inspiration Point do lead to really nice views. And I will also point out that the hikes, for the most part, aren't super difficult, but some of them do have decent length, so you can fill a full day here fairly easily, so you don't have to worry too much about that. I definitely recommend coming here. It is near Yellowstone, of course, so that's also worth noting. And who doesn't like Yellowstone? I mean, right? Anyway, now to move on to the next few parks. Everything from here on out is pretty much perfect and easily worthy of park status. Number 8. Olympic National Park in Washington. This park has nearly everything. There is great wildlife, I saw deer, banana slugs, plenty of ocean life, but the landscapes here are the best. The mountains at Hurricane Ridge are my personal favorite, but the beaches, Soldock Falls, and the rainforest are all excellent here. This is one of the most diverse parks and one of the most beautiful. The hiking here is really good. There are plenty of places to stay. It isn't too far from Seattle, which is good. And I'm just going to say the banana slug scene here is honestly my favorite thing about the park, as it was just so interesting. Overall, this park does get a lot of visitors, and I totally understand why. Okay, number 7, Grand Canyon National Park. Who doesn't love the Grand Canyon? I do. I've been to this park 3 times now. The first 2 times, I basically went as your average tourist, taking some pictures, walking along the rim. But last time, I hiked to Plateau Point on Bright Angel Trail, and it was amazing. I got to see a California condor, which is my favorite sighting on the trip, and I got to get to Plateau Point, which is the most beautiful overlook in the canyon in my mind. The only thing that slightly holds the park back is the fact that if you don't go into the canyon, it mostly all looks the same. But even so, the canyon is one of the greatest sights in a national park, and definitely needs to be visited at least once. I recommend staying for a night because stargazing here can be absolutely beautiful. There's a reason this is one of the most famous national parks out there. Number 6 is Zion National Park. I thought Grand Canyon was beautiful, but this one takes the cake. Every trail is pretty much one of the best in the park system because this canyon is just so beautiful. There's plenty of wildlife here too. I saw bighorn sheep and deer. The highlight for me, though, is Angel's Landing, the best trail in the national parks. Until I went on one more. I'll get to that. But the view from the top is stunning and worth the difficult hike up. It is one of the greatest views of all time in any national park, and simply must be done at least once. Alright, now for the top 5. Number 5 is Big Bend National Park. This might be the single most underrated, because it's the best desert park. This vermilion flycatcher photo is one of my favorites, but there's so much wildlife here. Roadrunners, rabbits, tons of deer, coyotes, many other birds, lizards, fish, amphibians, insects. However, my favorite animal sighting was a black bear. I'll get to some photos of that soon. But Lost Mine Trail is my favorite hike in the parks now, until yet another came along. Because there's so many great trails. I've done a lot more recently. But Lost Mine was my favorite for a while. I started in the morning, had beautiful sunrise views, tons of interesting mountain scenery, very intricate shapes, unique shapes. The desert ideas are really great. There's plenty more besides this trail, but this was my favorite part. It's not super difficult and definitely should be done. There are also plenty of other great famous sites here, though not as famous as some other parks that get more respect because this is a very remote one. Santa Elena Canyon is a massive and beautiful canyon that partially goes across the Rio Grande. There's also some interesting mountains, like those seen at the Sodal Vista. The Muleer's Peak are one of the more well-known. They are seen here. There's a lot of interesting scenery. One of the more popular areas is Rio Grande Village, where a lot of those bird photos were, and so is Boquillas Canyon, a very beautiful park. And honestly, I took so many great photos here that I actually ran out of space. I never do that. This is the second park I went to on a trip. The Black Bear was one of my favorite parts. There's simply so much to see and do here. It can all be done in a day if you don't do the super long hikes. I had a pretty long day when I went, but man, it was amazing. There are some things my family didn't like about it, things like insects, and they were a bit scared about being at the border, but don't worry, that aspect does not matter when you go. Alright, number 4. I'm so sorry, Yosemite, but you only are at number 4. I have seen a rainbow at Yosemite, Bridal Veil, and Vernal Falls, and they're all beautiful. Tunnel View is one of the greatest sights in the Park Service. There's absolutely amazing waterfalls here. They are probably the coolest part of the park. The hikes are excellent. Mist Trail is one of the best. Upper Yosemite Falls is very good. The views here, I don't know, this might be the most beautiful national park. It's definitely one of the top 2, I think. There are things that I like better and some others, but the scenery here pretty much blows them all out of the water. And number 3 is Denali, the best park in Alaska of the 3 I've been to so far, mainly for the mountain itself. That mountain is amazing, and seeing it on a clear day is one of the highlights of a national park for me. Just look at that thing. The wildlife here is also top-notch, with caribou, grizzly bears, red foxes, Dall sheep, moose, and plenty of other great animals. The hiking here is pretty good, despite the fact that many of the park roads can only be accessed by bus. Keep in mind, the bus tour, though not my personal cup of tea, is definitely worth it. The Denali Raft Adventures whitewater trip is also great. This is just one of the parks I had the most fun at. Top 2, I cannot believe this one made it, but number 2, finally, is Glacier. The first time I went, it was almost completely closed. But this time, I got to do Highline Trail. Due to COVID, part of it was closed, but I did get to see plenty of wildlife. I saw deer, I saw a black bear, I saw mountain goats, I saw marmots, I saw dusky grouses, I heard elk bugling, didn't see them, but there's just so much to do here. I spent 3 days and it wasn't nearly enough. The Highline Trail is the highlight. It is my favorite trail now, though it may be overthrown soon because of how good so many trails are. And the views on the way up to the Grinnell Glacier Overlook on Highline Trail are great. My night at Granite Park Chalet was fantastic. Avalanche Lake Trail is really good. This view here is Grinnell Glacier Overlook, and one of the greatest views I've ever had in a park. It is just such a beautiful place. We did have some unfortunate weather on our Granite Park Chalet day, but honestly, we didn't mind too much because of this photo. That overlook with the rainbow is one of the best. But number 1 is Yellowstone. In my mind, is the actual best national park because it has the most to see and do. But this is more about what's my favorite. So Grand Prismatic Spring is one of the most beautiful things ever. There is just so much to do here, and that's what I love about this place. Lake Yellowstone and the West Thumb Geyser Basin, Old Faithful, and I did have a really cool experience here where the sun was somewhat low, so the geyser erupted in front of it and created a sort of shadow. The wildlife is better here than any other, with bison, bears, coyotes. I even saw a wolf here, but tons of other animals. The waterfalls are beautiful here as well, and there are plenty of things that you may not know about, like sunsets can be absolutely amazing here. There's plenty of other animals I saw. I saw elk, I saw deer, I saw pronghorn, so much. Of all the places to go in the park, Lamar Valley's probably my favorite for the great wildlife, but I think you should try to go everywhere here. The only unfortunate issue was that Mount Washburn was closed when I went. I did the Bunsen Peak Trail instead, and that was really fun. Ferry Falls Trail is great. There's simply too much to do here to really give a full opinion, but this is my favorite park because there's more to do than any other. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below your favorite parks. Subscribe for more content. Like the video if you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Thanks again.